Hey, everybody, really excited to speak with Abraham, who just broke into Rippling. Awesome story and a lot of value we're going to give, and excited to dive into that deeper. Maybe just setting the stage for everyone, share a little bit about your background and what got you looking at tech sales in the first place.
Yeah, so prior to Rippling, I was working as a district sales leader at PepsiCo. So I was like 11 million in annual revenue that I was in charge of and like 14 reps. Uh, I was growing up in LA and in Guatemala back and forth. I went to a nice college. And then, I got into the sales position because I wanted to get into sales. Originally it was tech sales, but I was struggling a little bit to find that tech sales job straight out of college. And I found a really good position at Pepsi and, took that experience because I said, if I want to circle back to tech, I can do that, but now I have actual experience and maybe I'll understand if I like sales enough. So that's exactly what I did. This is actually my first week at Rippling, and I think a lot of that's in this course and the steps and processes I learned.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I don't know, like I actually have a buddy who worked at Pepsi right out of college. I know that's like a notoriously super intense place to work. They take a lot of grads and work them really hard. So that's, I'm sure, awesome experience. And maybe a question there too, in terms of you do have sales experience. You are, it sounds like, maybe self-educating on sales, tech sales, and whatnot. What made you decide to even invest in training, let alone higher levels in the first place?
Yeah. Um, Personally, it would be that when you have a full-time career, your bandwidth is already very short. So in order for me to really get the most out of my time, putting my money where my mouth is and then having a course that really takes out the fluff and shows me what to do was super important. Like I was doing research on the side in the beginning of the year and I wasn't getting anywhere. So when I finally decided to do this, it made a lot of sense. It put everything and my motivations into taking this more seriously and making the more important, decisive decisions. And that's what helped me really expedite the process.
No, it's awesome to hear, man. And I'm curious too, as you are maybe starting with self-educating, you find us online in one way, shape, or form. There's lots of programs, there's lots of coaches, et cetera, that are out there. Is there anything that made you confident that, hey, higher levels was the best choice for me?
Yeah, and it's really what we're doing right now. I was watching a lot of these videos, and I know everyone says that, but a lot of these videos, and I was like, this looks legit. It's like a gritty, the person that you're interviewing has like a shitty quality. Um, and then they're just telling you the exact experience. It doesn't sound crazy rehearsed. They're stumbling a little bit. And I'm like, this is a real person that Eric has actually worked with and got them a job. So I was like, okay, let me do it. And it's 100% true. That's why I'm here now. And I'm actually excited to come full circle.
No, that's awesome, man. Yeah, it's great to have you here. It's good to know the shitty background got
Dude,
you interested. So, yeah.
definitely works.
Um, Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I know like one of the things I want to provide some free value out there too to anyone watching, like you were before joining, is like I know we were talking before recording. You had several interviews. Obviously, Rippling's a really great company. I have a
Mhm.
couple questions about the interview process, but maybe starting with
Yes. Mhm.
things you did to get noticed, to get multiple interviews. Is there anything you feel like you did particularly well that you would advise other people in your situation?
1000%. First, it's going to use your resources and your background, what you already have. I went to UCSB and I connected with this woman who's a great recruiter, and she was just connected with everyone from my university. And I said, hey, I'm Abraham. This is what I'm about. I'd love just like some time to talk to you and see if maybe you could help me. And she was so willing to help me. And I asked her, hey, can you connect me with these people who have AE positions in all these tech companies? And she said, yeah. I was surprised. You can ask a lot of people for just 15 minutes to pick their brain, and they are more than willing to help. And it was surprising because I thought to myself, there's no value I could give them back. But the value that I give them back is they have a feeling of, oh my God, I did the right thing today. I helped a kid, helped someone who's just trying to start out. And that's a very satisfying feeling. So if you're ever scared to reach out, understand these people have a good feeling of satisfaction when they help you out. So after I did that, she lined me up with a bunch of people, interviews, people at Google, people at all these great companies. And I met this one person, Stefan, and shout out Stefan. He connected me with three people, no, two people, and those are two final interviews. Again, these are two people who were account executives at two great companies in New York. It was like Sigma and Rippling, and I'd never met them, but they got me into the interview process, and I went to the final interview with both of them, and then I got my offer from Rippling. And again, that wouldn't have happened if I didn't reach out to Leslie, and that domino effect of talking to people occurred.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I think something still to this day that people sleep on, like there's no exact formula. There's a lot of different things you can do to stand out. But I even say this as someone who was like from a smart background or whatever. I wouldn't say I was like too prideful, but it's like I almost discounted how easy it would be to reach out to people in your network if you are being genuine, if you are driven, and like, yeah, more power to you. It sounds like that was a huge unlock for you. And again, still something to this day I don't see people doing. I'd love to maybe pick into as well, whether it's like first or second round interviews, really any round of interview, you do have that sales experience. We obviously do work with a lot of people from, in your case, Pepsi, car sales, solar sales, door to door, specifically into tech. Are there themes that you noticed or things that you really kind of had to modify or change a bit to really map well to tech sales?
Yeah. Um, After a couple of interviews, I had to realize that no matter how hard I tried, I can't really convince them that me selling, I was at PepsiCo, I was selling consumer packaged goods, chips and drinks, right? That's what my team was selling for me. It was hard for me to convince them that that is the same as selling tech. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to scratch that and I'm going to just build a frame. So I'm going to say, these are the accomplishments I've made doing my sales in CPG. And my goal was for them to understand that these skills are being able, I can transition them to another product. So I'm like product agnostic. Essentially,
Nice.
I could just, yeah, sell whatever product, but I have the innate ability to sell.
Yeah, that's great. And I think a huge thing there too is like the nuance, and maybe correct me if I'm saying this incorrectly or something you wouldn't agree with, but yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
focusing on your results to date, that obviously shows you're a killer, you can get it done, but then also showing like the more you understand there's differences, but at the same time, like you're the kind of person that's going to figure it out. And I think when you package that correctly, that's extremely effective. And maybe too, for someone who's getting into these final round interviews for the first time, I'm not sure, the level of like presentations or different things you had to do at PepsiCo, but having that sales experience, were there any unexpected hurdles or challenges when you get to these final rounds, more intensive like cold call exercise or presentation? I'm not sure what you faced, but any takeaways there or advice you'd give to other people?
Yeah. First, have a response ready when you're coming from a sales background that isn't tech for the question or for the response that is, you seem great at what you do, but I don't know how you're going to do with tech. Because I got that a couple times. And being able to prepare an answer where it says, I may not have experience in tech, but I do have the general abilities to exceed based on these numbers I've hit. Find a way to frame that and prepare for that answer. Cold calls was like my Achilles heel. Like that was the toughest part. I went through like four cold calls. So it was like always the final interview was always a cold call for me. And there was four of them where I just didn't get it. And I know it was a cold call where I fumbled. Um, until I finally did my Rippling interview and I handed it down. Great tool you created was the Chat GPT robot that like I just kept doing that like nonstop. And then listening to those like clips and finally really understanding that what I'm doing on a cold call isn't just pitching this product, it's looking for those pain points. Keep asking those questions. Uh Handle a brush off, like brush their brush off. Uh Keep looking for pain points. Kind of like a doctor, when you go to a doctor's office, um, sometimes they don't know what's wrong with you, so they keep poking around to see what hurts. That's what we're essentially doing in a cold call. So being able to show that and do it confidently, have a good tone. It took me a couple of interviews. Like there's like four interviews I failed at. I could have got a job offer, um, but then I finally honed it down. So put a lot of effort into practicing using that AI robot, Chat GPT voice you created, and just learning and listening to a lot of cold calls.
There's so much value in failure, and I appreciate you sharing that too, because it's like a lot of people see these success stories and think like, oh, Abraham had like two interviews and knocked it out of the park and got a killer job. Like, yeah, you had some rejection along the way, and that's where you learn the most, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest. And also, yeah, I mean, we
1,000%.
always put an emphasis. Yeah, totally. And like we always put such a huge emphasis on practicing out loud. Like that makes a total difference, even if you're by yourself. So awesome to see that you took advantage of that. If there's anything that you haven't mentioned already, and or just call it advice to your younger self or someone maybe that was in a similar position to you, where you were maybe 6 months ago, any advice you'd like to leave everyone with?
Yeah, I was under the impression, the wider the net, the better. And I remember when I got my first job at PepsiCo, I applied to 311 jobs. I remember that number because I have them listed down. And it was that one job I got was PepsiCo. I had one offer and it was PepsiCo. And it wasn't even me applying through LinkedIn and all that. It was like someone my mom knew who worked at the company. That's what pisses me off. But I'm like, okay. So when I went my approach to this time, I was like, all right, still a wide net, but let me connect with people and get referrals. But then through the course, I found kind of like the more you find out what type of company you want to work for, the better your results are going to be, which does mean narrowing that down. But it worked. Like, you have a workbook in the course that really made a big difference because I was tracking, what type of companies I want. Here's where I am. This is the person I know. Check this off. Where's my progress in the interview process? And it really helped me streamline and get a lot more results. So really think about what company you're looking for. Spend a lot of time scrubbing through companies instead of just shooting shots at everything and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, it's awesome advice, man. I think, yeah, it's, it's not like you'll have 100% success rate, but I still think people now with like headlines and layoffs and all that feel like the need to do more. And it's actually, there's a line like, yes, you have to hit some volume, but the quality of which you do that makes all the difference, in my opinion, in 2025 and beyond. So yeah, that's awesome. Well, hey, if there's anything else that you haven't mentioned, like, feel free to add it, man. But this is a great conversation. Like I said, I think some things I hadn't heard before, especially just reiterating, I think one of the biggest takeaways I haven't heard is preparing for that objection of like, hey, I know you work hard, but I don't trust that you can sell in tech sales. Like, a great example of a question to prepare for. I don't think anyone's ever mentioned before. So this is a great conversation. Like I said, if there's anything else, feel free. But Abraham, congrats again, and thanks for the time.
Thank you, Eric. Just get the course, guys. It really helps.